Hi, welcome to Ask the Oracle channel. My name is Devina, and I am so grateful to be here today. I have some messages, so if you were drawn to the heading, there may be something here for you. Specifically, if you're new, welcome, and if you're returning, thank you so much for supporting this channel. Now, I had wrote some notes down. It's been a few days, so it's a little rusty in my mind of what I channeled the other day to do on this channel. I had to wait until some energies cleared and until I was ready to do this channel. I had other things to take care of. And so I'm learning balance. I'm learning, myself. I am trying to become my master of myself. And recently, it's interesting because, we can know things, we can learn things, we can do all these amazing things. And then somewhere along the line, life happens and we forget the things that we learned years ago, the tools that we all have. Every single one of us has access to tools. And sometimes we forget to use them. And so I was recently reminded when I did one of the videos, and I'm not sure which one it is. I think it's on protecting yourself from dark force entities and attacks and things like that, where I mentioned the violet flame vibration. And it was something that I knew about years ago, and I stopped using the violet flame. And well, on a regular basis, I stopped because perhaps I just forgot that I had that tool in my belt, right? And so I started using it, and I taught my child, I was teaching her to use it. And that is interesting because when I started telling people to use the violet flame, I was visited by one of the masters that works with human beings on this planet. And he works with a huge collective. He is here to teach us and help us make it through so that we can build a golden age instead of see Armageddon, like the world collapse, that kind of thing. So nothing's set in stone. There's no prophecies that are set in stone. It's all up to you and I. And so what I had happened, it was very interesting. So I started using this violet flame and I was telling my child to do it. Excuse me. Because she wasn't with me at the time. She was visiting her dad, and I just wanted to make sure she had the tools that I once remembered that we all had. And so I was teaching her, and then that night I was visited by some beings, and I'm gonna put a picture of what happened. And so I did a political rant. I haven't been on TikTok much. I'm gonna try to learn how to use that platform. I'm gonna put a picture here to show you what happened. So I was doing a rant talking about discernment and politics. So I did this rant, and when I did it, this art piece that my daughter had made years ago, so she created this little doll, looks a little bit like an alien, and it was sitting on my hutch on one side when I did the video. And that night my dog was having some issues and woke me up a little after 1 o'clock, and so I went down to let her out, which she normally doesn't go out in the middle of the night, and I looked up and turned around, and this alien doll was staring at me on the other side. I mean, the entire thing was pushed and moved. And even the vine is still there. I left it there. I took the doll down just because it was a little creepy at the time it happened. I wasn't sure what it was about. I was trying to understand because the energies in my house had been really different. Like it was as if, okay, so I have to tell you. So what it was, something did come in that earlier that night. My cat was staring at the ceiling and its face was going like this. And I looked up, and when you see energy, sometimes you don't want to look directly at it. You kind of just want to see it in your mind's eye, like just there, you can see more unless, sometimes you can look directly at it. That's not an issue. But I wasn't really my mind was seeing like a opening, like a swirling portal, and something was there, and the cat was watching it, and we were both, and it looked like light. And there was no emotions, there was no feeling. It was just so light. Like there was no heavy. I mean, it was like boo, I almost want to say what I would think of angelic frequency. but I didn't know what it was. I was trying to figure out, well, okay, so I just didn't really pay much attention. I was doing something anyways. I'm always preoccupied. So, but anyway, so I went to bed. So it had moved something. It was in my house because it was several times. It was like I was downstairs and there was something up at the ceiling and it was a different kitty. And then when I was in bed, my ceiling, there was another kitty looking up at this circling thing up at there in the ceiling. So, I'm getting to it. Just give me a moment here. I'm gonna get to the story and tell you what happened. So that night, I had been talking about the violet flame. So I went, I wasn't aware that I had my teachers and masters coming in to help me. And I'm grateful that they're there and they're for everyone. If you are ready to receive messages, they'll come to you in your sleep. So that night in my sleep, I had went somewhere. I was being taught about the violet flame and mind over matter and how powerful the human mind is when we are aware of these tools that we have. And so in the dream, let's see here, I wrote all these notes down, and I guess what I'm saying is I got to probably look back at this. So it was 2 nights in a row that I was visited. And so the purpose of their visit was to remind me of the power each and every one of us has on this planet, the power of mind over matter. And what does that mean exactly? And so as I was channeling it, I somewhat remember, but I don't exactly remember everything. That's just the way it is. You wake up, and I woke up. So that next day, I woke up at 4 a.m. energized, and I felt amazing. And I was like, and as I was thinking about all that I learned in my sleep and during the night, it was as if I went on a journey and I had flying and I was being told all these amazing things with downloads. I had this human thought, oh my gosh, I gotta protect my child. She's gonna be coming in today and I had to go pick her up at the airport. And then I was just, all of a sudden, it was like, don't worry. Godspeed, the violet flame is Godspeed, and it showed me. I had this mental image. I'm just going to tell you what I saw. Was like, how when you look at the concrete in the summertime and the heat wave is moving and like there's this static of energy, and so that's what I saw as the violet flame, and it didn't even have a color. It was just this like frequency wave. It was a wave of energy that was just emanating all around. And it was interesting because when it said that, don't worry, I had told her, I taught my child how to protect herself with this violet flame. So I got a whole lesson on it. And so we're going to go over some things. And some of it seems a little scientific. So some of you don't like to hear about vibration and frequency. You may not like that part. But I wrote this down so I know that somebody who's watching this video needs to hear how it works. So anyway, I had the perfect, most easiest trip to go get her from the airport that day. And she had the easiest, most flight was amazing. And they were actually 20 minutes early. So if that says anything about the violet flame, I'm not sure. But also that was a lesson, is that it speeds up things. So who knows, maybe there was, 20 minutes early was a good thing, but I'm not sure. Anyway, so that was my human worry, and then I was told don't worry, and this is why. And okay, so let's go into the notes that I wrote down based on this. The next day I had to sit down and write down things before I forgot. Mind over matter. Okay, so the purpose of this video is to remind you how powerful you are, my friend. So I saw this static all around. So that is something that the masters want us to start bringing into the planet on our plane of existence, is to remember how powerful our mind is. And the alchemists use the violet vibration frequency because it is the highest one. It is the one that separates impurities. So it pretty much burns out all the karma of the human being. It cleanses, it heals, it protects, it magnifies. There's this magnification with this. The more people who are aware of the power of the violet flame frequency and use it can transmute themselves and the world around them by applying it on a regular basis, sending out that vibration, sending it out to whoever needs it whenever it's appropriate. Now, I think that prayer and decrees and affirmations are always appropriate because we are standing in our divinity. 1111 on my thing. So those numbers might be special for some of you. So now I'm going to go back to my notes. So let's look at this for a minute. So this is what I wrote down. As it says, the static. So this is what I wrote. I saw a field of static, like waveforms of light that each one of us can put around us to move flawlessly through this space-time on our planet. Yes, so that's what I was shown. Okay, so that is number 2. Okay, so number 3, the wars and the division that we see right now is a part of, the sphere that we live on. There is a lot of energies that are not so benevolent. I almost got tongue-tied there. So we know this is a struggle as a result of the lower mind, not the higher mind, right? And I wrote some on here about jumping timelines, guys. Let's discuss this. There is a way to do it. There's a way to jump through timelines. And that was also, I feel as if I downloaded this information about Godspeed. Like I was saying, it was just really amazing what I saw with the waveforms. So that was something in my subconscious. Now, I don't know that I wrote this down, but I'm going to share this with you now while I'm thinking about it. Is that I was shown that the way we're going to jump into a higher timeline for our planet is to use this frequency of the violet flame waveform frequencies. It's so we have to vibrate high. And this is going to sound silly, but it says high voltage. Okay, so some of us, our bodies are not going to be able to handle high voltage, okay? And I wrote, the energetic waveform is something that we have the power to invoke within our personal sphere, okay? Each one of us is in our own energy, our personal sphere, the Merkaba, mind, body, spirit complex. And then I don't know why I wrote Amun Ra, the sun. The sun is amping up and causing us to upgrade our light frequencies and within this Merkaba. So we have to learn how to use the sun for that, okay? But that means you gotta drink a lot of water. You're gonna have to start eating high vibrational raw food, whole foods, no fake foods, because if you continue to eat fake foods, you're gonna get sick. I'm not gonna say don't do it every now and again. Use your discretion, but notice how you feel when you eat one thing and when you eat something else. And if you feel like crap afterwards, it may not be worth doing that to your physicality because you may not be able to hold the higher frequencies. And this is how we're going to transmute energy. This is how we are going to jump timelines, my friend. Okay, so, light language, sound waves. I recently downloaded light language too, but I'm not ready to share that part of myself yet on public in the camera. So then I also wrote down, believe and receive light codes, activations, and the symbols, receive all of that. Now, that's not what this is about, but I'm just telling you what I wrote on my notes for someone to hear this, okay? For whoever that resonates with. I said, if humans are not able to co-create in harmony and restore the balance, the emissaries will have to intercept the angelics, the angels, the ones that do this work on a spiritual level. It says the divine will intercept and bring on a cataclysmic scenario. So this is one of the reasons why I have decided to take a stance and speak with politics, even though most people hate it. It's a dirty word, politics. It is something that we are going to have to discuss. We're going to have to learn how to talk about these things without fighting and being ugly and nasty and full of hate in order to stand united, because divided we fall. We fail and we fall. Okay, so transmutation is a possibility, but the structures that are not working must be faced and challenged. This is where the violet flame of transmutation comes through. It's the vibration, as I mentioned, that transmutes energy. It's a real frequency. And I put in here that we have to stand up together right now before it's too late in order to avoid a planetary cataclysmic event. The weight of the corruption, the disharmony and the violence, the greed, the discord is too much for Mother Earth to bear. So we have a group of angelics, as I mentioned, ETs. We also have divine mind, and they're not going to permit things to continue into a, I don't believe they're going to continue to allow this to continue. They're not going to allow human beings to destroy the entire planet. It's just not going to be allowed. So if the human beings cannot get themselves together and come together in community and for a divine purpose and cause for their children, for the animals, for the plant life, for the beauty that is on this planet, if we cannot work together, there will be divine intervention. And in history, as we have seen, the way that works is there's a huge cataclysm where there might be another great flood. There may be land masses blown out with volcanoes that rise and fall, and civilizations wiped out, because this is the history of our planet. And I am going to be doing another video on the first races of human beings that came down and created the pyramids, the giants and things like that, because I had downloaded all of that. And then I found some people's channel that I want to share. I'm not going to do it on this video, but if you're interested in that kind of stuff, just stay tuned, because I want to share what the information that I got. And I found everything I needed to know to verify the information that came in. So I love how that works. Spirit is amazing. If you need information, just ask the Great Spirit of the universe and be amazed afterwards. But yeah, we'll talk about that. So there was a civilization. Some people want to say that the aliens did it, but it's not quite like that. But anyways, we'll go into that on another video. But anyway, so civilizations rise, civilizations fall, and there were earlier civilizations that were far more advanced than what we are today. And we're at that point now where we're trying to move into the Aquarian age from the Piscean age. And the Piscean age was all about the patriarchy and control and very, very nasty energy that wasn't really based in love. Okay, so the Aquarian age is totally different vibe. It is about love. It's about community. It's about walking into a golden age where you and I create that. Now, we can't create it if we're not in our own high vibe frequency of love in the violet flame. We can't do that. We're going to bring in whatever we are, and some of us may not make it. So that was another thing I was shown, was with that frequency, you can jump timelines, okay? The earth, because she's a living being, Mother Earth, Ma, they're in the Merkaba, the body is a result of matter. So remember, we were discussing mind over matter, and how that works exactly. So because we're all living on this amazing sphere, this amazing globe called planet Earth, okay, we are connected. I almost dropped my globe. So we're connected by the planetary sphere and the grid, and it's an energetic field, as above, so below, all around. We are connected in our neighborhoods. We pick up the energy of everyone around us, even if we don't want to. And that's where the violet flame comes in. So if you've got some disharmonious energies in your neighborhood and people and things you don't like, start sending the violet flame out into your neighborhood. But you're going to want to protect yourself. You're going to want to call it in for yourself. You have to do yourself first before you can go out and send out this frequency. You have to be covered, and then you protect your energies that way, and also transmute. The earth can only take so much. So we're connected on this sphere, this big planet. And when people say we're all one, well, that's what they mean. They mean that because we live on this gigantic planet, that we're all in this as one. And so that's where I have to tell you that you have to be responsible for your energy, okay? So yes, we're human beings. We're going to be influenced by negative energies, whether it's drama in our neighbors' lives, or families that are having all these karmic things continually, wheel that just seems like it's a never-ending wheel they cannot get off of. And they bring us into these things because we really care. So sometimes it's really, really hard when you have all of that coming at you to maintain a high vibration. So that's where you and I are going to start using this violet flame every single day, to burn off that negative frequencies within our own being, so that we can be strong, so that we can jump timelines, so that we can encourage others to do the same by being the example. So what'll happen is, if we don't get ourselves, our personal selves, in alignment with the higher timeline, then we're going to be a witness to a lower timeline. And the fact is, we have the choice. You and I are so powerful. We have the power to transmute. And we forgot we had that tool. Mind over matter. Yes, and so we see the earth. She's really, really, really trying to rid herself of the negative energies. And so Mother Earth, what happens with her is that, of course the sun does play a role. So let's not just forget the sun's role in volcanic activities and things like that. And the magnetic fields coming out of the earth and, so on. But the floods, the extreme weather, the possible collapse of the, they're talking about this could happen, a collapse of the jet stream, which would cause an ice age in North America. I'm not sure how far that would go, but it wouldn't be a good thing, right? There's a lot that Mother Earth is not happy about, and we see this everywhere. And sure, there may be outside influences that are even detrimental and causing even more weather anomalies as well on top of Mother Earth. But whatever the case is, guys, we have the ability to put ourselves in a bubble of a highest vibration that can move through this planetary sphere, in our own sphere, where we're safe, we're protected, and what's happening out there isn't necessarily going to influence what's happening here, okay? That's the point of this video, mind over matter, and the utilization of the violet flame. Okay, so, I wrote, this is something I'm not really interested in talking about. It's funny because I did this the other day because it was on my mind, but today I'm not really interested in I don't want to talk about nuclear energy. I don't want to talk about the devastating effects of that. But this is something for somebody. So for some of you who aren't interested in that, tune this part out, or just, press 10 seconds and continue. But for those of you who are interested in implementing nuclear energy in your neighborhood, in your state, in your country, you have to remember the lessons of Fukushima, and when natural disasters happen, how many people are going to be affected when that radioactive waste goes into the oceans and into the drinking water. People will die off, life forms in your area will die off. It isn't worth it. Do not look into nuclear energy. I was told that this is a devastating technology that has the potential to wipe out millions. So please, if you're thinking of nuclear power, is not the way to go, guys. It's just not. It's the old. We have to look at innovative other technologies that don't have serious consequences if things go wrong naturally, disasters and so on, okay? So that, I don't really want to put a lot on that, but I did write down here just for anyone who needs to hear this part. You know how long it takes the earth to replenish after nuclear destruction? It's 10,000 to 100,000 years. Radioactive isotopes. So the nuclear waste, it takes 10,000, in some cases, to 100,000 years to decay. And some materials do decay faster. If you want to look into that, there's the nrc.gov.au RADWASTE. You can look into that. But I'm not going to go into that. I'm not really interested. Like I said, it's not something I want to put a whole lot of emphasis on, but I just needed to let somebody hear that because I wrote it down for somebody, I suppose. So what is really important for you and I to stand in our power is to be aware of the illusion of what you see, and how it pulls you in to drama that's not necessary. So I really felt this was very important because, as I mentioned, mind over matter, we have got to take back our control. There is an illusion of scarcity happening right now. And I haven't really talked a whole lot about the things that I've seen over. It's interesting because my time frames, I'm learning this about myself. And some people don't want to hear anyone talk about themselves. But I am learning my strengths because I can look back now. So I apparently have always had like a 5 to 10 year window where I see things ahead of time and I hear and I get information and then it happens. So I didn't know this. I know this now because I can look back to my 20s and now I'm half a century old now and I have experience, okay? I'm not, not that there's anything wrong with being young. I love a young, youthful spirit's beautiful, right? But now I have wisdom. I'm more of a, I have more wisdom and knowledge, and I know things now that I didn't know 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So the point is that in 2010, I was aware of an agenda. I heard it. My guides came in, thank God. They told me that. And I can't say this because my YouTube channel I got a strike, and I can't say these things because there is a giant that I've mentioned, that a giant that you cannot say anything against. You're being censored. If you say anything that goes against them, then you are going to be banned. And I just don't want to lose that. I don't want to lose my voice when I'm just now trying to share information. But I saw something occurring. I heard that this was going to happen. If this was ever a time that they try to force this on you, and I'm not going to say what it was, do not do this. Do not allow it. So I was warned in 2010. And so when I started to see this unfold in 2020, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, no way, that was real? You mean this thing I heard, they knew that years ago, and I was told 10 years ago that they were gonna force something on people? I would never have believed that was possible, but it happened. So this is where I'm trying to tell you, this is what I saw happening after that. There's an agenda. Believe it or not, there is an agenda. And we have to tell each one of you, we have to inform you of this agenda so that you can do what you need to do to transmute this energy and counterbalance the agenda, my friend, because you have the power of mind over matter. So this is where I want to go back to scarcity, the illusion of scarcity. So the powers that were, I love the way that sounds better. I'm hearing other channels. There's several channels out there that are saying powers that were, because what's happening is we're taking away their power and we are stepping into our power. And so they're not going to be the powers that be forever. They were, and they are out. Now, so they're using the illusion of scarcity to make us feel unworthy. It's what the bullies always do. They try to make you feel like crap. They use manipulation to make it seem like we're not worthy. And we forget how worthy we really are when we buy into the lies of what they're trying to make us believe. So the illusion of scarcity, there is a big one, okay? And that was the next thing I want to tell you. So that's what I saw. So after the forced agenda, I was told the next thing is they're going to use food shortages in the economy to cause scarcity and starvation and food shortages. And I'm starting to see this, so I'm seeing how it's working, and it's really upsetting me because it's coming true. They did this after the forced agenda. They started raising the corporations. This is who's in control, guys, until you and I step into our power and we choose people who are not part of their system to run the governments. Get rid of the party stuff, because the party is what's causing this problem. We need individuals who are not part of this system to come in and be a position of leadership, to take over and say, no, enough is enough, you guys. I see what you're allowing to happen, and this is no longer acceptable. So what they're doing is they raised the food, they raised the rents. They have not raised in the America continent the minimum slave wages. They have not raised them in well over 20 something years. And there are people who work for $10 an hour. They are being cheated. You work for an hour and you can afford a loaf of bread and maybe, what else can you buy for $5? A bag of chips. Okay, guys, we have to say no. We're worth so much more than this. I want to cuss, but I'm going to keep it to myself. Okay, so yeah, okay, so this is where I want to go into. So this is exactly what I saw happening, and it's happening. You gotta fire them motherfuckers. Okay, so where I live, I don't resonate. I love the nature, but I don't resonate with this area at all. Okay, I'm only here for a temporary time. It's gonna tell you I'm not here to stay in this area, although I love this mountains and its beauty. And the trees, the forest is amazing. But anyway, so where I live, when I started going in the grocery store, we only have one store. Oh, I gotta get to a bigger town. But anyways, the price of chips one day, I went in the store and I used to eat chips, which is really bad because they're they're GMOs and they're unhealthy, but I would try to buy organic, but they don't even hardly sell those things anymore in my store. So one day I was looking at, and I was walking past the Frito-Lay thing as soon as you walk in, and there was just this tiny bag of chips for $4.50. Mostly air. I want to say it was like 9 ounces. I don't even think it made it to 12 ounces. I can't remember exactly, for $4.50. So $4.50 for a tiny bag of chips. I'm like, what the hell is Frito-Lay doing? Do they just want to like go bankrupt? So no, it's 7 ounces. That's what I wrote down. 7 ounces of product for $4.50. So I stopped eating chips because of principle, okay, guys? Which I'm probably healthier now anyways. But because I am not paying that. They have no right to think that we are going to pay their prices. If we stop buying their garbage, principle, they're going to have to lower their prices. They don't care about anything but profit. And of course, like I said, there's this scarcity thing. We're going to raise the rent. We're going to raise utilities. We're going to raise everything so that the average human being, the people that used to be considered the middle class in America, can't afford anything. They're going to go to poverty class. So there's only going to be 2 classes. There's going to be the poor class, the struggling middle class, because now they're struggling to keep up with inflation, which is a made-up thing that greedy people put into place in governments and get away with it, just to fund wars. But they're going to price gouge you everywhere they can because you're not going to do anything about it because they have all the control and the power and they own the media. So they tell you what to do. They tell you who to vote for. They tell you what to think. Oh, things are never going to go back to the way they were. So get used to it. That's what they're going to tell you. And until you say, no, things are going to go this way. We're going to step into a higher timeline because we have the power to transmute. That was my little rant about $4.50 tiny bag of 7 ounce bag of chips. We have the power to say no. No. Okay, so the storyline 2010, 2020, 2024. The economy might collapse as a result of some maleficent agendas. And you know, some of you might be into unions. That's something too for you. Those of you who are into unions, That's something you need to really stand up for, because you have the power to do that. Now, when I speak to you, I'm going off of experience. I'm seeing, observing what people do. When you realize that they make billions, their CEOs are making millions, and these big corporations that are controlling the economy and the governments at this time, and you realize that they have the power. They should have changed the minimum wage from slave wages to a living wage, because they can afford it. They can afford it. But the agenda isn't about taking care of the people. It's about scarcity and control and devaluing the human being. And when you realize and you step up and say, no, I'm worth more than that, and you demand a living wage, everything's going to change in great numbers. Everything's going to change, because we have the power. Okay. Now, for any of you that's ever been in an abusive relationship, you know that the abuse is not going to ever end until you stop and relinquish the relationship with that abuser. Excuse me. I get very thirsty when I'm talking here with you. So we have to, in order for an abused individual to remove themselves, they have to remove themselves from the abusive relationship, because the abuser is not going to stop the abuse. The abused person has to be the one that values themselves and loves themselves so much that they know they're worth more. You're worth more than this. You're worth so much. You're a powerful, divine being. But the abuser's not going to tell you this, okay? They're going to continually belittle you and make you feel less than. They're going to tell you to do this and that, because it serves their ego. And the ego, unchecked, can be an evil thing if it's allowed to continue destroying and harming. You're going to have to get the violet flame going in your body. Activate it with your mind. Meditate in your prayers every single day. Light some fire, light a candle. And let's, I didn't write this down, but let's just do an example here. Okay, guys, hang on. So I'm going to light a candle, okay? Let's light this together. There's like 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, so I'm going to just show you an example of what we can do every single day. You don't have to do this. You can do your own thing. You have your own thing. Do it. But this is for those of you who just want to see what we can do every single day. Now, first of all, for the priestesses and the priest, the shamans, and the people who just naturally have a spiritual inclination, not everyone does, but for those of you, I hope that by now you have an altar for the divine sacred place in your home set aside to do this work. But if you don't, you might want to consider getting an altar set up in your home. Okay, so let's do this together. All right, so I'm envisioning, I'm using my mind right now. That's what I do. Sometimes we don't say things out loud, we just do it in our mind. So mind over matter, I am enclosing us in a circle and calling on the elements north, east, south, and west. And it's done. We are in our circle of protection. Now, I call upon the violet flame. I call upon the violet flame to surround me, to engulf in my heart. The violet flame, I am one with thee. I am one with the violet flame. Deep breath. I am one with the violet flame. I invoke the violet flame. Wow, my drum just moved by itself. My drum. Okay, my drum just moved by itself. Okay, let's do some other things here, guys. My violet flame invocation wants the drum, the goddess drum with the elements to be heard. Divine decree, I call upon the violet flame. Okay, so what we're doing is we just called it in, okay? And I did feel it. Like I started to feel something changing. I felt something. I don't know, maybe my body was cold and now it's heated up just a little bit. So I did feel something. And like I said, it's a waveform, it's an energy. So I feel as if the more you do it, the more it's going to become stronger in your field. And it's going to transmute and clear things out. Karma, it's going to clear things out, but you've got to believe and you got to trust. So that's one way you can call it in every day. You can pray, do what you do normally, and say thank you. Thank you so much, Great Spirit of the universe, for giving me the tools to do this work here on the planet. Right now we are in a situation here in the Western world and North America where we are being abused by the corruption in governments on all levels of corruption. And you and I have to stand up in a community. We have to share our words and our voice to let everyone know that it's time to stop the abuse. And I have my political views. I can see things energetically, and I know who the candidate would be the best to take over and transform. And it isn't who they're telling you to vote for, because the system isn't going to change. It is not going to disrupt itself, with the same old. It wants you to buy into their lies so that you continue to support these corporations that are belittling the human being. We don't want them to be allowed to create a famine because that's not divine, and we are divine and we deserve better than that. So that's what I'm saying is we got to transmute this energy, and it starts with us, our mind complex. And nothing is set in stone. We all have free will, but if we stay silent, we have a window of opportunity in 2024. I've mentioned this before, not everybody's in my country, but for those of you who are Americans, we need to vote for somebody who's for the people, not for the corporations. And it's definitely not Biden, and it's not Trump. Trump already was a president and didn't do much change. He didn't do anything other than what they all do. And yet he would blow everything up, and say, oh, I did this, I'm the best ever. But in actuality, nothing has changed. It's no different than it was before. So as we were talking about, the golden age of Aquarius isn't going to happen unless we stand up. Okay, guys, we have to. It's our chance. It's our time now to do that. It's funny because I heard Marianne say, it's our time. And I'm like, you know what? She's right. It's our time. It's our time to use our voice. It's our time to use our action. It is time now so that we can move peacefully into a higher timeline. And violet flame, how it works. It's a vibration, a dimensional shift. We can shift dimensions with this high transmutable frequency. I wrote down resonance. Natural frequency and resonance frequency are not the same thing. Natural frequency is the regular state of any object without force or acceleration, without pressure. And I'm thinking of the sun, the X solar flares, how it's coming down to the planet, and it's shaking up things within our bodies and even the weather patterns, and it's bringing in higher codes. It's forcing human beings to uplift their energy, or their bodies are gonna fail and they're gonna go get sick and they're gonna, have an early death. And some people will have that anyway, just because they've ingested poisons that were forced upon them. Now, so noise. Okay, so frequency, vibration, the drum is a vibration, the sound healing bowls, music. We have to fine tune our instrument, our body, so that we can jump timelines. So then I wrote resonance. Okay, so I'm just trying to go back to where resonance in chemistry is Okay, in a resonant structure, atoms never move. You can only move electrons in bonding, or I want to say ion pairs. So what does that mean exactly? It requires a double bond more than one way to form a bond. Oh, bonding. That's why I brought this out. Multi-dimensional jumping, timeline, choice points. But I did write one more thing about frequency, because this is something that I downloaded in 2010, was this whole frequency thing, that we can send out frequencies based on the human divine Christos being that is operating within us, because we are a divine being, right? So we're invoking these energy waves, the vibration, we're beginning to vibrate at a higher rate, and all the lower stuff that's in our field is going to go ahead and, like an alchemist, it's going to dissolve and melt away, and the gold is going to come out in us. So what I was wanting to talk about, the gamma wave is 30 to 90 cycles per second, or hertz. And as we mentioned, all objects have natural frequency, and the earth has a natural frequency called the Schumann resonance. With an enormous solar flare, it is speeding up the frequencies, the times are speeding up, everything is speeding up right now. So we have to get energy, we have to stay in the time where we can keep up with all this speeding up stuff. All right, pulsating. So the pulsating at a rate that the Earth is natural without the Schumann, without the sun flares, the solar X flares. Its natural rate is 7.83 hertz. Fine-tuned connections, your divine body with the light, codes, high vibrational foods, music, nature, daily exercise, and spiritual food. Whether you feed yourself via prayers or meditation, purposeful acts to resonate higher. So that is the end of what I wanted to share with you guys. So that's where the violet flame comes in. I needed to tell you that because apparently I forgot I had this tool. It'd been years. I haven't even thought about it until recently, when I told my child that I wanted her to learn how to utilize this. And then of course I had visitations to show me why as I mentioned in the very beginning, I had a visitation to show us why that's important and what exactly is the violet flame, because I was using it without even knowing what exactly it is, what it does for us. And I was shown in my dream that it is a vibration that speeds us up and takes us from one timeline to another, and we can multi-dimensionally shift in ease and grace. Whereas if we don't utilize that frequency, then it's going to take years, maybe. We don't have that much time, my friends. We don't have that much time. We don't have years. And as I mentioned, when I was shown this, it was more of a staticky energy that moved really fast, like in a ball. It wasn't so much, I didn't actually see the violet, which I think is interesting in itself. But I do grid work. So for those of you still here, if you want to send some prayers and some transmutating energies to certain places on the grid, I am going to take my globe for a second here, and we're going to go 3 places. Last time when I was doing it, I didn't know where. I had this feeling like Spirit said you'll know tomorrow, because I'm like, is this where the pyramids are? Because I know there's a pyramid in China. I had no idea about Kazakhstan. And so the next day a pop-up showed up on YouTube, and sure enough, it verified exactly where we went on the grid in that video. I will try to remember to put a link to the video down in the description box. But what I did was we sent some activating codes to these 2 pyramids, because what pyramids do is they're generators of magnetic earth energy, and they send out these higher vibrations. Once they are activated, they're able to magnify via this resonance. There's some kind of resonant chamber, which we just talked about, a resonance and frequency. And so these pyramids mark certain places on the grid. Now, we're not talking about mausoleum, I don't know how to say that word, tombs that are built like pyramids. So let's send our intentions for healing and the violet flame transmutation for that entire area as far as it needs to go. So it is. All right. Thank you guys for joining me today. And if you enjoyed any of the information and material, please let me know by supporting my channel. I'm so grateful for you. And until we meet again, have a wonderful, blessed day.